Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Madhur Jaffrey. Before we ask you anything else, tell me about your relationship with Ismail and James. When did you first meet them? And I know it's been a long, long relationship with them, and you're part of their family now, with the late Ismail Merchant and James Ivory.
It was a long, long time ago. I came to this country in the late 50s, and it was then that I met, I think, first James and then Ismail. And it happened this way. I was married before, and my first husband was an actor. And Jim, at that time, he had come to New York from California, and Ismail was going to come a few years later from India, and we just all somehow met. And Saeed and I, my first husband and I, were the connection that led to this meeting. Jim was he had studied art history in college. That was his subject. And he had got very interested in Indian miniature paintings. And he was going to do a short film on Indian miniature paintings called The Sword and the Flute. And he had gone around looking for people who could do the narration for the film. And he had approached my ex-husband and to do it, and that's how we had all got to know each other, and we had become very good friends. We had little children at that time, very, very small. And so we would all go out on picnics and dream of all the things we would do together. Around the same time, Ismail came to this country, and he was studying at NYU, business management. Nothing to do with theater, nothing to do with anything else. And the first time I met him, he was telling me about his dreams, of all the things he wanted to do. He said, I want to rent Radio City Music Hall, and big dreams, and I want to get the best Indian dancers to come and dance. And his world was he was from Bombay, so his world was the Bombay world. And the sort of dancer that he wanted was very much a film dancer that he wanted to come and dance at Radio City Music Hall. And we sort of laughed at him because his dreams seemed so big. We had smaller dreams. We had dreams too, but they were smaller. And at one point, Saeed and I were thinking of what we might do with our lives when we went back to India. And we both were actors. So we said we would love to start a troupe, a traveling troupe of actors who would go around India doing theater. And so Jim said, what a good idea for a screenplay. And we started meeting every week or every other day and sitting down in Jim's apartment and writing a screenplay on the floor of his apartment, which was on 64th Street, I remember. So we had started a screenplay, and then Ismail came into the picture as well. And he said he wanted to be a part of it. And at the same time, Ismail and Jim decided that they would go to India and do another film called The Householder, because they had met Ruth Chhabwala also. And they decided that they would do a screenplay she had written about a young couple in India, in Bombay. So they did the screenplay. They made a film that was their first film. It was a film called The Householder, and it was a wonderful, absolutely wonderful film. And it didn't really go anywhere in this country, but it was a very good film. Nobody knew who they were. And then they said they met the Kendalls. Now these Kendalls that you see are a real group. They did have a group called Shakespeareana that traveled around India. I saw them as a schoolgirl.
They came to Sanaa. In fact, they showed my school there.
Yes.
You know, that whole scene was all in Sanaa.
Yes.
Yeah.
So they went to schools, they performed in big theaters in Delhi, and I had seen them as a group myself. So when they came and did The Householder, they had, of course, met Ruth, and they decided when they met the Kendalls, that they would do their story instead. Said and I had separated. We had gone our own ways. So that was another reason why that idea was not going to work. And so they decided that they would do the story of the Kendalls. But then what about me? They didn't know how to fit me into the story of the Kendalls. So they told Ruth, who didn't remember me as anything like a movie star. I was thin, I wore glasses, I was very studious. Everyone in school
very
called me...
Very different from the glamorous one we saw on stage, on the
screen. A little bit. I was known as the bookworm in school, so she just could not imagine me as the movie star. So Jim managed to convince her that we'll write a part for her, we'll fit her in somewhere. And so I got fitted into this new screenplay, which was going to be about the Kendalls. And does that answer your question?
Well, what did you think when you read the script? And, because at that time, all movie stars in India were Rubenesque.
Right.
You were very far from that.
I was very far.
And also they had a certain manner of doing things, which again was very different from yours, because you studied at RADA and the whole experience of your acting was different.
Yes, I'd been to the actor's studio and my whole approach, and that's why I came here to the West to study theatre, because I wanted to be Marlon Brando. I did not want to be an Indian movie star, and that's why I'd run away to this country. So anyway, then Jim... they decided that this is what they were going to do, and they said, we'll go to India and shoot. And so we did go to India, and it was...
Were you here when the second script happened, or were you here?
Yes, I was here.
You were here.
The second script was written in India by Ruth, and Ruth was really, really reluctant to put me in this role. She was really unhappy. And Jim kept saying, she'll be fine, she'll be fine. And then I was asked to come over, and I remember Jim sent me a telegram asking me to bring wonderful clothes that this character would wear. Of course, there was no money. There was never any money. So if you could dress yourself, that would be fine. And so whatever I could bring, I brought some sweaters and things from Geneva. I brought whatever I could. And I arrived, and my first shot was going to be the tea party, the tea that I invited Felicity Kendall to when I say you're a very sweet person. That was going to be my first scene. And, the Indian hills are not like going to the Berkshires. Indian hills are the Himalayas. They are the mountains. So you go up and up and up and up, and sometimes you get very queasy, and I certainly always got queasy. And so, and I wore glasses, and I was queasy, and I was thin. So by the time I arrived at the set and the crew saw me, they said, this person is going to play the movie star. So there was great suspicion about me from the very beginning. And then one day later, I was to shoot the scene. And I hadn't done films before. I was a theatre person. I had not done a major film in my life. So I had read...
About Anna? Or did you...
No, Ruth's script. I had
Ruth's script, you read it.
Yeah. I had read it, and I thought, my God, she's awful. She's not a very nice person. But then I said, I'm going to do it from my point of view, that I am this person, and I like myself, so I'm going to play it sympathetic to me, from my own point of view, not from anyone else's point of view. And I tried to flesh out the part as much as I could, and I was ready for my scene the first day. And I thought, this is going to be awful. I don't know anything. Where's the camera going to be? What will I be doing? But I was thinking stage. Just think stage and be calm. And I had been told that, with the audience, you know when you're holding an audience, and you know when you've lost them because they're not listening. And I said, how will I know that I'm any good? Will I be holding anyone's attention? I was very dubious about a lot of things. And we started right into this tea party scene. And what I noticed was that the crew stopped and listened. I thought, oh my God, there's an audience. Even theater people can get an audience in film by just paying attention to who's there. It could be the cameraman, it could be the people working the lights. If they stop and listen, then maybe you're holding them. And that was quite a revelation.
And you were telling me a little earlier about your inspiration, Anna Magnani, and how, there was a scene of hers that you thought of when you were thinking of this part and how it would.
Well, it's very different from this character, but what had happened was that when I studied acting at the Royal Academy of Dramatic Art, and every 3 months they would have a test, a major test, and if you didn't pass it, you were thrown out. There were 3 times in a term you could be thrown out, and that's how you proceeded on and on and on. If you didn't get thrown out, then you were still there. So in one of the final exams, I was very worried about being thrown out, as everyone was. And so I'd gone to see a film called The Rose Tattoo with Anna Magnani. And I thought, this is it. This is my inspiration. I'm just going to think about the strength of Anna Magnani, and I'm going to pass this test thinking about her. And I did. So so she was a great, great, great inspiration for me all the time. I don't know if I should talk about it now, but should I talk about Gina Lollobrigida?
Yes,
okay.
Yes, tell them about it.
So what happened, when this film was made, Jim made the film, but the person who pushed everything in Merchant Ivory Productions, Jim and Ruth were very retiring kind of people. Ismail, not so at all. So the next thing I hear when the film is finished, that it has been accepted at the Berlin Film Festival, and we are all going there. And this was a complete shock. We just didn't think that we'd ever end up in a European film festival. We all knew all about it, but we didn't expect to land up there. And so there we were, all of us together. And one of the strange things that happened was that one day there were a lot of people there from around Europe, around the world. I got a note in my room which said, "Will you have lunch with me?" Signed, Gina Lollobrigida. I said, there's no way that woman wants to have lunch with me. There's a mistake. Now, how can you tell an Indian name? Could be a man, could be a woman. My name hardly betrays my sex. Shashi Kapoor's name hardly betrays his sex, but he's a very attractive, sexy man, and I'm a woman. So I just thought about it, and I said, this must be for Shashi. Who else would she want to have lunch with? And then I went up to Shashi's room and knocked on the door and said, Shashi, I think this is for you. He laughed, and we had a very good time. What had happened was that we were going in the elevator together, and Gina Lollobrigida was there, Shashi was there, I was there, and I saw that she looked up at him, and that was that. But that produced an immediate note. Yes. So I gave Shashi the note, and I don't know what happened afterwards. I think he did get in touch with her, but whether his wife was there, so I don't think he went and had lunch with her. But anyway, it was a funny episode for me because I never thought I'd be invited. I could have gone. I should have gone and had lunch
and seen
with her
the reaction.
And seen the reaction, but unfortunately, I didn't go.
Did Jennifer travel with the troupe also?
Well, here's the thing. I don't know if any of you know that the woman playing, she was an innkeeper or something of Glen Eagles, Jennifer Kapoor. Now she is the actual wife of Shashi Kapoor. So I always thought how awkward it must be for him to play the lover to his wife's younger sister. But that's what he was doing, and Jennifer was there, and she was also a part of Shakespeareana. Mm-hmm. She was a member, so was Shashi. Shashi Kapoor was also a part of the troupe, and that's how he met Jennifer. and married Jennifer. And she's absolutely wonderful in it. She's such a good actress. She plays a part that's, almost, she hides herself in that part, but she's a really, really good actress. And if you ever see the film again, just look at her and see how well she does that part. Very, very truthful, very real. Very actor studio, actually. She's wonderful in the part.
Do you want to have a quick drink before I ask you the next question? Yeah. Satyajit Ray did the music, and I believe he did it in 4 weeks. Oh, you want to put that down? We can dump it down here.
Yeah.
I believe he did it in 4 weeks.
So Jim Ivory had gone to Satyajit Ray, who was known, all of us adored his work. We thought he was the greatest Indian director that we had ever known. And he went up to him almost as if he were a guru, to learn from him, and said, look, this is what I want to do. And Satyajit Ray helped him a lot, also gave him his cameraman. The cameraman was somebody who had worked, Shubhitra Mitra had worked with Satyajit Ray. And so he gave him his cameraman, and then he said he would do the music. Jim asked him about the music, and he said he would do the music. And I remember Jim telling me that for you, he wrote this part. He thought of you as the snake.
Oh, God.
And so he wrote the part. The music was a snake music.
Really?
Wow. Part, whatever it was. So actually you can hear it. It sort of moves along like a snake, the music. For me, whenever about to come on, you hear the snake music.
Sorry, I thought you might need this,
No,
so I'll just keep it here. Let me know when you need it. Yeah. I'm going to ask you something that might be a little bit awkward.
I won't answer it then.
You decide what you want to do.
Okay.
I believe there was some tension on the set, and especially when you won the award, because Jim had an idea that he wanted to have this as Felicity's coming out. So for whatever reason, he thought she should win the award, and actually you did. Can you elaborate on that?
No. I think I won't elaborate on it. It was just that I think the expectation was not that I would win, and I won against everybody's real desires. So there was some amount of awkwardness there, but I think we got over it as best as we could.
And you didn't go to London?
No.
Because that was supposed to be her baby or whatever,
Right.
or her
Right.
day.
Right.
But anyway, you won it, and no one's won it since. No Indian actress has won it since. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, well, I just, I was doing a bit of research on you and found that out. And since then, you haven't worked in Bollywood, but you've done other films and stage.
I worked in Bollywood, actually, one film. It's a film called Saga.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, what did you think of that one?
I loved it. I loved being in it. The lunches were so good. They have the greatest caterers in the world, the Bollywood industry, and they vie with each other who can get the better caterer. So I just loved the lunches best of all. But I certainly enjoyed acting in that too. You don't see the script until that morning. And the way I was cast was very interesting for the Bollywood film. The director called me. He's a famous director in India. And he called me and he said, I would love you to do the role. And will you come to India? I said, fine. So I was in India. And we're sitting in a coffee shop. And he says, let me tell you the story and your part in it. So he tells me the story. But he tells me my part of the story. There's a whole else, other things going on. So he doesn't tell me all this. I'm made to feel that I'm the center of the story, and this is the story. But of course, there's much more than that. And every morning we got our scripts, and we had to sort of learn them up as best we could. So you can never be on top of it as you would in America, because you have many weeks or days certainly to look at your lines. But there you don't. It just arrives in the morning, and you're supposed to do the best you can with it, and then you go on. But Ramesh Sippy's, he was the director, and he's a wonderful, wonderful director. And of course, he was doing what is done in the industry. And you don't film it all in one go, as we did Shakespeare Wala, because there's not that kind of money. You need a lot of money for the major Bollywood films, and they're done in stages. And like 2 weeks or 3 weeks you shoot, and then you go on and shoot another film while they raise the money for the next lot of shooting. So everything is done in little batches in Bollywood, which is not the case certainly with Shakespeare Wala. We had so little money.
How long did it take to shoot?
Oh, I can't remember, but I think it was done within a couple of months.
And you were on location at all times?
And I was on location, yeah, wherever it was. Mine, a lot of it was in the hills.
Yeah.
So
Kasoli and...
Kasoli, yeah, mostly in Kasoli and Simla.
Yeah.
Those were the two main places.
Yeah. We're going to open it up to the house. Does anyone have any... Yes?
Just a very simple question. Which was your most favorite part during the film?
This film?
Yes.
Which section of the film?
Yeah. What did you enjoy most?
The hardest for me was the dancing with the dance master. He was giving me such complicated steps, and I said, how on earth am I going to do this? But somehow I managed to fool everybody and do it. So I think the Tea Party scene, probably, because it was my first entry into this world and everything about it, and when I see it later, I just like that scene.
Can I ask a second question?
Yeah, of course.
So regarding the dance thing, it's very interesting that that's your introduction, and you see in the film a very demure, sweet, nice girl, and then you change into the diva.
Yeah.
So did you think that out, or was it given to you that this is how you should do it?
Well, it was pretty much written in there, but the sweet part I don't know, because I sort of, give my orders around, so I wasn't sweet all the way through, but you don't know who I am in the beginning, that's true.
Thank you.
Who's that, the actress who played your assistant or...
Oh God, that's one of those memory questions, and at this age, that's gone.
You'll have to look it up.
Yeah, I can't remember her name, but she was a wonderful actress.
She was very good.
She was very good. She was very good.
Excellent,
Yeah.
actually.
So you didn't have any rehearsals for this at all? But Merchant Ivory must have. Jim must have
No,
any
hardly
rehearsals.
any. Jim was more interested in working how the camera was working and the lights, how they were working. He assumed that the actors would take care of themselves.
Yes, considering all of you were professionals.
Well,
and all of
right,
you
and I
stage
think I
actors
like
anyway.
that. I like that. I like it when a director trusts the actors to do what they want and doesn't tell them what to do step by step, This way you can do it, control it from the beginning.
Did Ismail feed everyone instead of fees even then?
Everything was minimum. We did all right, but money was always short. So we always managed somehow, as they say, like the Buckingham's here. We always managed.
Okay, ladies and oh, sorry, you have a question?
Yeah.
So continuing with the other question, did you make any new relationships, associations out of this film? Like, what was your personal journey? Did you gain anything from the film, the journey in the film?
Well, I certainly learned a lot about acting in film. One of the things that people say, I don't like to see the rushes. Oh, you must. If you're a newcomer, you must go and see the rushes every day, because you can see the mistakes you're making. Even if you're at this angle or this angle, you realize what your face is, what angles work, where the light is. You learn a lot from rushes, and I must say, I improved my performance watching rushes.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much, and a huge bravo for Madhur Jaffrey.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you, Madhur.
Oh, thank you, Aroon.